Welcome back to the poll position. In this episode, we will be looking at the general election in Northern Ireland, the polls, and what the results will mean for the election as a whole. Northern Ireland is possibly the most unique of the four nations, as it has its own set of political parties, with the Conservatives being the only UK-wide party to even stand candidates, with them never winning any sizable share of the vote. Instead, the battle is largely fought between the pro-union Democratic Unionist Party and the nationalist Sinn Féin, as well as various other smaller parties such as the Alliance, the Ulster Unionist Party and the Social Democratic Labour Party. Currently, the DUP is struggling in the polls due to a number of problems that beset the party, from a scandal surrounding their now former leader to a general decline in popularity from both hardliners and more moderate voters. The main nationalist party, Sinn Féin, on the other hand, is gaining significant momentum, particularly from the western part of the nation, with voters largely being taken from the more moderate nationalist SDLP, who have seen a declining vote share for a number of years. Alliance has also managed to benefit from the decline of the DUP, acting as a moderate centre party that is winning over dissatisfied voters from both nationalist and unionist parties, particularly within areas such as East Belfast and North Down. There is also the Ulster Unionists, who hope to gain seats such as South Antrim by pitching themselves as the moderate anti-DUP unionist vote. Sadly, there has been very little polling in Northern Ireland compared to the rest of the UK, with only 5 polls taking place since the last general election. Most polls tend to put Sinn Féin ahead, with a lead ranging from 3 to 6 points ahead of the DUP, with a poll from Lucid Talk from the 8th to the 10th of June, and commissioned by the Belfast Telegraph, placing Sinn Féin on 24%, whilst the DUP stand on just 21%. This shows a 9-point drop for the DUP. What is interesting is that none of the aforementioned smaller parties seem to have changed their vote by any significant amount, but rather another party known as the Traditional Unionist Voice seems to hold around 5% of the vote. The TUV are a hardline unionist party that had not previously stood candidates in the last general election, but did stand candidates in both the local elections and the Northern Irish Assembly elections in 2022. In the Assembly election, they managed to gain 7% of the vote, mostly from the DUP, but due to the voting system only returned with 1 seat. Despite this, they still pose a threat to the DUP, as they could split the vote, giving more seats to Sinn Féin, in a similar way to how Reform is splitting the Conservative vote in England, Scotland and Wales. The battlegrounds in this election are interesting to say the least. The DUP are hoping to hold on to 3 key seats, with Belfast East being targeted by Alliance, South Antrim being targeted by the UUP, and Upper Bann being targeted by Sinn Féin, with all 3 looking like possible gains for each party. Sinn Féin are also hoping to win seats from the SDLP, with the seat of Foyle being targeted, as the SDLP leader is the current MP. The UUP, on the other hand, are also trying to win Fermanagh and South Tyrone, which just so happens to have the smallest majority of any constituency in the UK, with Sinn Féin holding a majority of just 57 votes in 2019. The results in Northern Ireland are important for a number of reasons. There is of course the political symbolism that comes with a possible Sinn Féin victory that would certainly lead to greater political friction in the region, like what we saw after the elections for the Assembly 2 years ago. There is also the fact that Sinn Féin do not take up seats in Parliament, meaning that if they win more seats, it will be easier for both Labour and the Conservatives to get a parliamentary majority, even if they don't win more than half of the seats in Parliament. There is also the power that the DUP have in hung parliaments, as they have been shown to be key players in hung parliaments that are led by the Conservatives, like when they provided a supply and confidence to Theresa May's government in 2017. Overall, the DUP are likely to have a bad night on July the 4th, with all parties hoping to benefit from this slump in popularity, with support largely shifting towards the smaller parties rather than a direct surge in support for Sinn Féin. Despite this caveat, a victory for Sinn Féin would have serious ramifications for both Northern Irish politics, but also the wider political dynamic within the UK. The importance of this election for all sides of the political spectrum could not be higher, with results on July 4th being crucial in deciding the future direction of politics in Northern Ireland. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a comment below about what you want to see next. My final video before the election will be focusing on what the pollsters are predicting and my own estimates on the general election. As always, have a great day and I'll see you next time.